Okay, what's going on, everybody? I am MothRED Destiny.
And I am Red Summer.
And we wanted to start this series called MothRED Destiny just to give you all a better opportunity to be able to come together in this time of quarantine. I know that a lot of my peers are talking about how they're upset about being stuck at home with their parents. And me, I wish I was stuck at home with my mama. So we wanted to create this series to give you all a better opportunity to be able to come together in the way that you all have seen that we have.
Oh, let me do mine. Oh, let me do mine. You do you and yours. Let me do me.
That's so nice of you.
Oh, thank you.
You are so cool.
Thank you. I say all the time, like, I don't understand how parents are like, pretty soon they're not gonna want to hold my hands. And I'm like, I still hold my mama hand in the mall, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
definitely.
At 24, 25, I'm still like, Mom, can you hold me at night? Like,
right on my lap.
Right. So I wanted to give other mother-daughter relationships an opportunity to be able to have what we have, because I think anybody who doesn't have that is just missing out on something amazing.
And you know how I am. If somebody missing it, they could just come on with us.
Oh, right. No. So this is another reason. Like, get it where you got it.
Don't be like that.
Sharing my mom. Huh? All right, so the series, I wanted to break the series down in steps of our relationship. So I wanted to start with this one being you first having me as a baby, our relationship as a baby, and especially going into talking about your postpartum depression, if there was any, and how you handled some of that. So I know my first question, because you always talk about how I was really, really mean to you and Dear, and just to any woman.
Yes.
Talk about that though.
So, first of all, I think it's really, 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 really important that, like, we were so excited to have you. Like, we were just like, oh my God, I hope we get pregnant. Like, oh my gosh, like, we just can't wait to have a baby. Like, what our family is gonna be like. Like, it was so like, it's like super pressed, right?
Uh-huh.
And so we found out we were pregnant. We were living, I think we were living in Chicago at the time. And then we ended up moving to Michigan. So, like, we got our, like, official, like, first place. Because when we were living in Michigan, we were living with grandma. I mean, in Chicago, we were living with grandma. So we moved to Michigan. We got an apartment, you know, because Papa and Grandma Margot, they hadn't gotten to Michigan yet and really gotten set up and got their house built and all of that stuff. So we got there. We had an apartment. And I was working at a school. Okay. And it was funny because, like, all the little, you know, I had, like, elementary to sixth grade. Mm-hmm. And every time kindergarten to sixth grade. And every time I would go in the kindergarten room, like, they would just be like, I want to feel your belly. I want to feel your belly. You did not kick for nothing but the little boys. And I was my goodness. Like, so this little boy, you hear little baby boy voices, you was just like, who is that? I want to play. And so it was kind of like a joke, like, you know, we thought you were a boy at first. We were like, you know, this baby do not play with little girls. Like, this gonna be a little boy. And then when you came, like, you had that same energy when your father came in the room. And I think it's part because, you know, as soon as you came, like, your dad got you, and then Uncle Obi came, and he just held you and sang to you for hours, right?
Yeah.
So you were just like, where's my daddy? Where's Uncle Obi? Like, where are they? And then the women were just like we were there to serve. We were definitely there to take care of your needs.
Oh my goodness.
But
and so how did you
were a daddy's girl, period. Like, your bond was like crazy. Like, the way that you would just light up, and I'll be like, you know, I'm the one. Oh, that's how you feel.
I'm so sorry. That is so funny. That's so funny. Okay, so all right, so we always talk about it in the joking banner, right? Like, because right now we're so close in our bond, like, nobody can break it. Yeah. But honestly, like, how were you feeling during that time?
Well, one, you look just like your dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you wanted to be with him. And I was just like, she don't like me. Why she don't like me? And I'll be so upset. And he'll be like, what? Like, that's not your friend. Why you want her to like you so bad? Like,
Right.
I'm like, yeah, that's easy for you to say. Because
she likes
right. You come home from work, and all late, been gone to 12-hour shift.
Right.
And you come back and she like, right. But when I'm there the whole day, she's like, feed me, lady. So like, I don't know that I would say it was like really a postpartum depression, because like I definitely don't want to play with terms like that of like, because I know the people who have like really serious cases and they like are really sad and they're really like, they feel helpless. They feel like everything that they're doing is wrong. They feel like, things are working out. They're watching all of the things. So you're really stressed when you have a little baby. Like, are they eating enough? Like, is their poop the right color or consistency? Right. Like, you're stressed about so many little details. Like, do they weigh enough? Oh, they lost a pound. Oh my God, I'm a horrible parent. So like all of those things are already stressful. And it's not from, like society puts a lot of pressure, right? You have to immediately, when the baby comes out, you have to fall in love. But if you don't, if you're stressed out and tired from labor and you are not thinking about loving this baby, you just want to like rest and get yourself back together from birthing a person.
Right.
People are like, well, what's wrong with you?
Right.
And then that kind of spirals out. And so I was able to give myself permission to be like, I need a minute. Like, I've just gone through a lot. Like, my whole life has changed. Now I have to take care of a whole other person. It's okay, like, if we take our time to build a bond with each other.
Yeah.
And I think had I not given myself that permission in the beginning, we probably wouldn't have like been able to connect when we did connect, and really get as close as we are now.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely grateful for that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our village, right? So we talk about all the time that it takes a village to raise a child, and you always bring up, us coming into a village that was very welcoming for us. Everybody was, for me and my little brother, everybody was super excited for us to be here. Everybody was super willing to do, even now at us being 20 and 24, people are still so willing to do for us. Like, we're 6 and 7, So what were some things that you did intentionally to put that kind of thing in place for us as babies?
I really don't know. I think the only like real honest answer I can have to that is that I was also that person for other people. Right.
Yeah.
So because I understood, like, for myself, and this is growing up, dear as my mom, I always watched her be in community with the other women in the neighborhood. Right. Like, when we were growing up, we didn't live in the projects, but it was definitely like a building community in Chicago, right? So we would go from house to house, and at Miss Marilyn's house we had cookies. Miss Ellen's house we had cookies. At Miss Marilyn's house she would have this popcorn with this super decadent seasoning on it, right? And like, we could go to everybody's house. I would get so mad because Dear would have like fruits and vegetables for us. I'm like, my mama got the wax snacks. She'll never have like the good sweets and stuff like that, right? But that was important. Like, you took care of the children in the village. And so that was definitely something that I offered and something that I expected of like my good core friend group. And then when other people came in, it was kind of like they were introduced with that expectation.
Yeah.
And so like, they could stay and join the village, or, we'll see you, for some other thing. Like, right. It's not that I wasn't going to be your friend, but I definitely knew that the people who were there and were close were like, we were there to serve our community and serve each other and take care of all of the children together.
Yeah, that's really good. So I'm like surrounded by a lot of people, especially being in the South and being in Louisiana. I'm surrounded by people who have huge families, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you a string fellow, you know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
like 67 of them, and I got two of them. That's my homies. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm always around people that have like really, really huge families. Was that ever something that you wanted?
I didn't want to have the huge family. Like, I had anticipated on like giving birth to a lot of children.
Okay.
That wasn't the part. But I did create huge families by like adopting a lot of children. I had 3 like foster children. I got like a couple of other, add-ons in that. So like I have 7 people, and not even 7. So we got 5 in the house here.
Right.
Your 3 sisters, 2 more. So like there's a lot of people that like call me mom, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who I have that relationship with. And it's extended, not just to the children that I brought in, but also like any of your friends who you were just like, they need a mama. Bam.
Right. Oh God.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that was just what I knew to do. I didn't have like a lot of siblings and stuff around me. Like my father has children, but I grew up in Chicago, away from the rest of my family in St. Louis. And so what we did was like, we just built nuclear family style, like in Chicago.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's always felt like that family has been more rewarding because that family is the one that everybody involved chose to be a part of. Yeah. Everybody, like there's no requirement, because there's no like blood, like, like I don't have to do this because this is my blood. Like I don't have to accept this disrespect and accept this toxicity or this trauma or whatever because this is my blood family. I always felt like with my village, I always felt like if I needed to leave, if I felt like I was uncomfortable, I was able to do so. Luckily, I never, felt that way with the village that you created. That was mostly, what I put myself in. But I never felt like, oh, I gotta deal with this because this my cousin, like, and for me, that's always been a weight off my shoulder because, like, for instance, like, the woman I call my stepmom now, not your wife, my other one, but she has this huge family, and a lot of times they're like, oh, well, that's my sister, so I gotta just go through it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Even when, my sister and I, we're not blooded, even when we got into it, I was able to say, look, I'm going to step away for a second, give us the time that we need, and then we can come back, because I didn't feel like we were bound by any blood relation. I didn't feel like we were forced to heal. I feel like everything is really organic with the family that we've created. So I just wanted to make sure that I definitely let you know that I appreciated that, because I feel like, again, everybody who is in the family wants to be here. Nobody feels like they have to be here, which means that everybody pulls the weight that they, are given. So.
Yeah. And I'm glad too that it kind of balanced out, right? So like in the beginning we had all girls,
Yeah.
And then like we ended up with like all boys. So like we were able to like, balance it out and have that, have both of those experiences. Because like now, like Brandon's the only boy that's, older, that's in the 20s, and Zion's the only girl that's that's young, on that end. But we still have enough for everybody to still, have somebody, like have people that they identify with, and for different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love our little village. I love it. Okay, so before I go to kind of like the next topic or the next journey in our life, or the next stage, was there anything that you wanted to ask me?
I think the question that you were starting is one of the things that I wondered about for you. Like, I know that a lot of our blood relatives, I almost take it as like, we could kind of take them or leave them. You know what I'm saying? We just don't have that close of a relationship with like the people in our family. And I feel like even when we do try to establish that, like it just doesn't feel as natural
Yeah.
like, as our chosen family. And so I wondered what that was like for you.
Well, first let me say, you know how I am when it comes to my people, right? I'm really, really defensive, really, really protective over what's mine and what I care about. And so, at first, I wanted the relationship with my father's family. I wanted the relationship with your family. I kind of longed for it. I wanted to know why, like the blood wasn't, why they weren't hitting us up, why they weren't calling and this, that, and the third. And I would always hear stories like on your side of the family, I would hear stories of colorism. And even though there would be stories of activism as, color was related, there were a lot of stories where my grandmother felt uncomfortable being darker. Mm-hmm. And how that related to me was, I felt like, because when it was just me, you, and Izzy, or whatever, I felt like I was the darker one. So I never wanted to go to St. Louis and feel like I wasn't welcome because I was Dear's complexion. So I never, like, after that, I was like, okay, we can go or we cannot go. But either way, we're gonna be beautiful brown skinned girls over here in Chicago. Like, so that was kind of how I dealt with that. The same thing with my dad's side of the family. I would always hear about, Sinbad never came back to the family because this, and this. You know what I'm saying? And I would never want to feel that way. And even though I felt closer to his family, than, your side of the family, they didn't call and check on me. They didn't, but then when I did American Idol, all of a sudden I was everybody's favorite grandchild, everybody's favorite niece, everybody's favorite cousin. And it made me think, maybe Sinbad was right. Like, maybe they weren't helping him. And then when he did A Different World, when he was doing his music tour, when he was doing his stand-up tour, then all of a sudden he was everybody's favorite cousin, everybody. And I never felt like the people who weren't blood related had to fake their support for me. Nobody, and nobody was able to say, oh yeah, that's my favorite niece, when they never showed it beforehand, because the blood wasn't there to prove that. You had to really be my auntie. Like, you have to be Messiah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to really physically, like, as a verb, be my aunt in order to be my aunt. You can't just be my mom's sister or be my dad's sister. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of, I'm appreciative of it because it made me look at family differently, at the dynamic and at what family is supposed to bring. And blood closer than water, blood is thicker than water. None of that means anything to me. Like, that is not true. I've seen situations where people in the family, like men in the family, are molesting their nieces. Blood nieces. There's, whatever the case may be. And then there are people who are not connected to them at all that will step in and save them. Right. You see what I'm saying? So I never, and I think it's because you raised me that way. I never felt like, oh, I have to sit around and do this because this is my blood. Like, the only people I ever felt that way about were you, Izzy, and my dad, and Dear. And at this point, I think we had created that not blood relationship so much as the blood relationship, that it just felt like everything else. It just felt as real as everything else. So yeah.
And also too, like, you're making me think about, so Dear being like a Black revolutionary, right?
Yeah.
So she, like, when I was growing up, we called everybody brother, sister, mama, baba, like that whole thing. Like, the whole community just kind of operated in that family sense. And so I know that there were plenty of people who, like, in my adulthood, people were like, oh, that's your sister? Y'all have the same? And I'm like, no. They like, wait, I don't understand. How y'all related? I'm like,
right.
That we just,
right.
Like, that's
it's like
what it
me
is.
And Jalen. It's just like me and Jalen. Like, when Jalen first got to Grambling, people thought that Jalen was my blood cousin because we wouldn't let anybody think otherwise. You could not speak negatively of Jalen and be around me. I would shut that down immediately, and vice versa. And people would get sick of it. They put Jalen on the side of the calf, and I would still be like, no, don't you better. You better not say anything negative. Just to same thing. It wasn't until recently that we had to be like, look, both our parents was in Black Dynasty, okay? And they had been cool, and here we are 20 years later, okay? We might as well. We got baby pictures together in Grambling. We might as well be cousins, y'all. Like, so I definitely get that.
Yeah, but then Jalen, like, you were raised with Jalen as your cousin. Like, when you were introduced to Jalen again, you know, after you all have been apart from, you know, babies to middle school or whatever that was, and it was like, oh, this is Jalen. She's your cousin. And it was like, all right, bet. Like,
boom, I got a cousin.
I need
cool.
a cousin. Now I got
a cousin.
Right. And
absolutely.
That was just it. That's the way that we knew to move in the world. And I know that it's very Black, right?
Absolutely.
It's very Black, you know, and in the ways that, like, we create, like, these African systems without knowing where they come from, right?
Yeah.
So many times, like, I'll watch, and even when we went to Senegal and we're in the village, like, this woman walks up to us, hand us the baby, and she does what she needs to do. Like, there's no, like, oh, you don't know them, they're strangers. If you here, hold this baby. Like,
okay. What else are you here for?
Right. Clearly, you here to hold this baby because I need somebody to do it.
Right.
And so, like, you know, we still have that in us. It's still in our DNA in a lot of ways. And so I'm just thankful that you were able to have that, because the alternative is isolation, right?
Yeah.
The alternative is loneliness. And when we were there, especially when your father and I separated, like, I would have been in a big city with 2 babies, like, by myself, like, and I didn't want to do that. And I have been able to say that, like, I've not been a single parent.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that experience is like, because grandma, because dear, because, like,
right,
auntie, you know, and all your aunties, you got a boatload of aunties, right?
Right, I did. And they were all actively aunties too.
Yeah, but then I
remember Tiffany had no problem giving us no whooping.
Yes, but then you also had, like, other aunties, like, from Grambling, who would be like, you know, oh, well, here, like, just, you know, make sure you and the kids got what you need, or make sure y'all, you know, whatever, or checking on y'all, and make you never met these people or didn't remember seeing them since you were 4 years old. You get to Grambling and
they helping me move in,
right? And they got you because of that relationship and the expectation, and just the way that I believe in building relationships with people.
Okay. Yeah. So this the first episode, right, what we're focusing on is having your infant, and cultivating that relationship young, and starting the foundation. Because even though, you know, we joke about me not liking you, or whatever the situation is, or the case may be, I really, really am grateful for the foundation that you and Dad have set, because just the way that I think, the way that I carry myself, the way that I, you know, people always recognize that there's something different about me, even down to my willingness to help, and my willingness to be a part of a community and pull my weight in that community, and, you know, open my home, and, you know, all of those things. Just, I think that a lot of those things came from the foundation that was set, because I remember pulling into Grambling and passing Pinecrest, and I remember, like, remembering sitting at the top of the stairs, right? So a lot of that stuff that we did from 0 to 4 was very, very important for my development now. And so do you have any tips or any advice that you can give for mothers right now that are being quarantined with their baby children?
Well, before we get to that part, like, I would say, like, my advice for young mothers is to, like, commune with other young mothers, right? So if you got a homegirl that, you know, that also has a child your child's age, or, you know, around that age or whatever, like, bring that baby over here, go ahead and go somewhere. And then you know, you all can be there for each other. I remembered one day I was thinking, like, where were my kids when I went to grad school? Like,
yeah. You do really have, like, 4 whole degrees.
Really do not have, like, a clear like clear, strong memory of having to like take y'all to night care, right?
Right.
I just know I just went to class when it was time for class, right?
Yeah.
And so making sure that you have like people around you who you all are on the same page about like what's needed and what's necessary. Like maybe that's your family, like maybe it's not. Maybe
Thank
it's
you for
not.
saying that.
Yeah. But you're there right now. You don't get to take the baby to daycare. You don't get to like go to work or school or wherever you normally go to go talk to adults.
Right.
I would say hyper structure your time. Right? So like hyper schedule, hyper structure. And then if they're little, sleep when they sleep.
Yeah.
But if they're, 5 and 6 and, and older than that, then definitely like if they can take a nap, when they take a nap, you do whatever you need to do. When you have your quiet time, put them to bed at bedtime. So that you also have like this set time that you get to talk to grownups, that you get to like just chill out and relax so that you're not so irritated with their needs. Like you've focused your time on their needs. Like you've taken care of everything that they need to do. You put them to bed, you go, right?
Yeah.
And then you can sit on the phone. You can, change your channels on your TV. Don't even watch nothing. Just keep on clicking, right?
Right.
Whatever it is that you need to do. YouTube videos, I don't know, plan your future, take an online class.
Right,
I don't know, whatever that is. But when you have to like front load it, put all of that energy for them, and then know when your energy stops and when it goes to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's really good. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up as well. I don't feel like you ever stopped following your dreams. And I admired that. And I want you to know I never wanted you to feel like guilty for like leaving us at Deer's house to go to New York. Like I was always so amazed and so like, oh my God, my mom's in New York. Like, I'll go to school like, yeah, well, I can't. My mom can't come. She's in Africa doing African things. Like I would be like, look, my mama, she's in New York right now doing a show, so I know you all can't relate. She's in Detroit right now. I know you can't relate. Like, so I think me seeing that, it's like always, like you took care of what you had to take care of at home, and you always made time for what was important to you. And so it gave us an opportunity to see the balance of handling business and handling personal. And even though like we might have been the personal and that might have been the business, like I just feel like you did a really, really good job of showing us that there's no need to stop, no matter what.
So like real moment of honesty, like we had those conversations. Like I sat down with you all and was like, look, I don't want to be mad that I got stuck with the kids.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to look back at my life and like resent y'all and regret like having children. Like, I really want to, to be able to enjoy us as a family.
Yeah.
So this is what I need. Like, I need y'all to be able to say goodbye. Yeah. And I'm always going to come back.
Yeah.
And y'all, I remember y'all were like, okay. All right, mama.
Right.
But like, no, like even as small children, I had that conversation with you. Like, mommy has to go. Like the things that I need to do for my life, like I have to do them or I will not be okay.
Yeah. And
I'm not going to be a good mother for you if I'm just carrying all of that pressure and resentment.
Yeah.
So you'll like, let's make a deal. When I gotta drop you off at somebody's house, act right.
Right.
Be nice to the people. Don't go over there tearing up stuff. Right. Be loving, wonderful children like I know you can be, so that you can have the things that you need. That's why you're going over there.
I remember that a lot. Like, if you don't know how to leave, they'll never bring you back.
Right. Absolutely. And so, like, if you were falling out and I want my mama, when she coming back, then that puts extra stress on the person that's keeping you for the time, and like it's not gonna be okay for us. Right. Yeah. And so, like, you all were gracious enough to give me that. And so I made sure that I didn't overextend that.
Okay.
So, like, there were a lot of days that I was like, like, I've been gone twice this month. Like, I can't do a third show.
Yeah.
You know, unless it was something like a big, like my college gigs, which were like my big money makers.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not adding on no extra show to go hang out at the party. Like, I'm not doing those things. Like, I'm very strategic about the things that I'm going to, because I know that we are all making this sacrifice. Yeah. And so, like, I would bring the people to my house. That's why we always had like parties at the house and all that stuff. The kids, you know, y'all run around in the basement, y'all having a good time. Yeah. We just all hang out upstairs. So I'm not left out of it. And I also, like, don't have to leave my babies again.
Yeah. And it gave me a good opportunity to just, I was able to maneuver in an adult world before I was an adult. I credit that to both you and Dad. I just felt like I was always mature enough to be in whatever situation I was in, but I was always young enough to, like, go hang out with the kids. Yeah. Like, so if I wanted to go into the kitchen, you know, for something to drink, or if I was going to get a snack for the rest of the kids, like, I could stay in there for longer than 30 seconds because I wasn't like, you know, or whatever the situation was. I always felt like I was able to maneuver in whatever situation that I was in. So I definitely appreciate that. I think this last question is going to be a good segue and a good ending, because the next episode is going to be us going into our change and you coming out, and, you know, you and Daddy separating and things of that nature. So I want to talk about the last thing. How important is it to communicate with your children? And I mean, like, honest, like you said, like, I'm going to need to do this, and so this is what we need to do. Like, how important is that? And what are some tips that you have for communicating with both younger children and your older children?
So there are a lot of things that, you know, just as the parent, you will feel are not age appropriate. It's not things that, you know, children should be a part of conversation wise. One, because kids go back to school and tell their teacher everything. My mom said, like, so you really got to be careful in a lot of ways. But I didn't want you all to feel like you were, like, shuffled around and, like, not important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, like, I knew people who felt like they didn't have a say in life. Like, one of your brother's, like, biggest things right now was like, we moved. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he just, like, he can't release that pressure from, you know, feeling like he didn't have a say. And so a lot of, like, during that time was like, okay, like, I have this really, really big thing coming up. Here are our options. You can stay with your dad for a little while. You can, you know, stay with dear, you know, we can whatever. Like, what do y'all want to do? And people were like, how you gonna let the kid, like, she in kindergarten. Right. You know, so you in third grade and he was, you know, whatever. And it was just like, how would you allow them to make the decision? Because I'm like, where they end up has to be where they want to be.
Yeah.
Or they're going to be distraught. Right. And I appreciate being able to release some of that, because a lot of it is like, it's control, right? So if I allow you to go somewhere else and be in those other places, one, I have to trust that you're going to be okay. There's so many choices that I made in my life for your safety and livelihood. Yeah. Like, I was not willing to have you around anybody, you know, who would, like, sexually assault y'all, who would physically assault y'all, who would do, like, so many of those things, because I and my friends and, you know, all of the stories that I heard coming up about people who thought they were in trustworthy situations and they weren't, right? Yeah. And so it was very difficult for me to make some of those decisions because I was used to being able to put my eyes on you, or you with my mama, or you with Musaya, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, that really safe space for us. But I know that because we're able to have conversations, because we were able to talk, because we were able to check in, and because I said you cannot have any secrets from your mama.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody
that was
tell
really
you,
big.
Don't tell your mama, then you tell me immediately. I don't care what the consequence was going to be. I don't care whatever it is. You tell me immediately. Now, once you got older, I wish you didn't tell me so much, but
and it's all your fault.
But like, I understood that as a survival tactic,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And to make sure that, a lot of people think their children are safe, like with their dad, until they're not, right? And so I needed to make sure that like you all trusted me enough to be able to communicate with me if something happened, or if some uncle, on your daddy's side or my side, I took it to, wherever, if somebody said something or did something, that you would be able to be like, listen,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially small children, people immediately assume that they don't know what they're talking about.
Absolutely. And
if the baby falling out every time you got to go to granddaddy house, then there's something wrong with granddaddy. Don't go over there no more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I guess too, I should, because I don't know, what did you do to make the communication so easy? Well, and not even to say that it was like easy, because I know when we first started to talk about sex, it was like, well, Mionne, why didn't you tell me? And so, and I think on that aspect, and I think that that's just like a societal thing. Like society says you should be afraid to talk about sex with your parents, because I think they just want us vulnerable and naive sexually. So we're supposed to be afraid to like bring that up so that we don't seek counsel and so that we don't get guidance. Oh, the song No Guidance, Mama, that song really creeps me out, because it's like, you really want somebody who out here just trying to figure it out and don't know where to go and don't know how no goals and don't know how to get to where they want to go if they do have goals. That seems kind of predatory to me. It seems real, So what were some of the things that you felt like you did to make our communication easier? Because I feel super comfortable, like you said, telling you anything.
Yeah. One is, I know, and like just speaking to like parents, right? If, your child is coming to you and they're saying like, this thing is happening with my body, or, this person said, did, whatever, you cannot like emotionally react. Oh, okay. And then what happened? Oh, got you. Right. And so if you can keep calm and let the rest of the story play out, like you can get the rest of the details, you can go act a whole donkey afterwards. Right. Because please believe me,
you have never just acted so crazy that I felt like, oh, I can't tell him nothing else. So that's important for parents to know too. Yeah. Like you got to acknowledge the trust, and you got to like understand that I'm trusting you with this stuff. So we got to act in a way that's not going to, that I'm going to benefit from in the end. That's not going to hurt me in the end. Yeah.
And whoever because like as parents, you have your people that you're going to go and vent to and like let all the stuff out. Like they can't go back and like shame your children.
Yes.
Right. So you cannot go and tell your sister, I can't believe this little girl did blah, 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 blah. And then she'd be like, little fast, all. Like you can't do that. Like the people who are entrusted with your child have to love them and support them the way that you need them to be loved and supported. And so I would be able to be like, tell Kay.
Yeah.
Like tell auntie, like because like this this is out of my pay grade. Right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go to the other people like for this one, because I just can't do this one. And they knew how to jump right in and take whatever that thing was and help us get to where we needed to be.
Absolutely. All right. This was super fun. I really enjoyed talking about our first journeys together.
Yes.
I hope that you all enjoyed tuning in. We're going to try to do this on a consistent basis because we've already talked about all the things that we want to talk about with you guys. We hope that you have found this useful, and the rest of the series, we hope that you find that useful, because you're going to be sitting in the house with your baby, right? So you might as well make the best of it. Because I wish I was sitting in the house with my mama. I'm just sitting in my own little house.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure that you guys subscribe and press the notification bell so that you can see whenever we post anything like this. Make sure that you follow me everywhere at MotheRED Destiny. And Mama?
Red Summer.
Boop, boop. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.